Who ready? We ready. Who ready? We ready. Who ready? Who? We ready. Who? Who ready? Who? We ready. Who? Motivation to youth only. Mentally feel like Kobe. I'm like Jokic with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me. I don't care if you push it 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili. From young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats. Circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's the reach. We ready. Who ready?
Hey, what's going on, people? It's the One on One Sports Show. I'm Dante.
I'm Mr. Bennett.
I am Trey Furton, your player coach. What's up, fellas? How y'all doing? Y'all ready to rock?
Yes, sir.
Doing good,
yes,
doing
sir.
good.
Yes, sir.
Johnny
I
won't
think I'm
be
coming,
Johnny
I think
won't be
I'm
with us
coming out of
tonight,
my my depression. Like I said, last
Oh,
Sunday
yeah.
was the most depressing time of the year. So I think I'm starting to come out of it because I just saw the calendar. I didn't, because usually the combine is in early March, but actually it's Monday. It starts this coming Monday. So my juice is already flowing for that. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, they're gonna start everything, and it's real interesting when the combine like starts off, and just what you start hearing about players, and then it's kind of like, and I feel like a lot of people say, hey, it's not, for the most part, the underwear Olympic stuff. If you saw a guy that you watched him play 3-4 years and he was a highly rated recruit, but it didn't translate to the field, you have to look at why, but you also have to look at it as, hey, when you went up against other guys that are here in the combine or were here previously. Because I put a lot of stock in, hey, when you were a sophomore, if you stayed to your senior year, you were a sophomore, you were playing against guys that were getting ready to go as juniors and seniors. How did you compete against them? It's one thing to naturally develop and then guys graduate off, and then it's like, oh wow, I just had some of the best 2 years of my career or one great year, and it's kind of like, how can I trust that? You're going to see guys that a lot of guys at the next level that are elite of the elite. So how are you going to match up? So that's something to keep in place. But sometimes it's reconfirming what you already thought. And then some guys don't compete. Like I thought it was brilliant. He didn't do a lot right in that process, but Lamar Jackson not running the 40 and knowing how they wanted to use his running element, him not doing it, so they would think, because as soon as you throw a few bad passes, what about a look at receiver? And I think a lot of quarterbacks did a good job with doing that, where it's like, hey, he did it, but as black quarterbacks, we're past that. We're past the, hey, you're going to move me to receiver. No, I'm going to be a quarterback, or I'm going to be a backup quarterback. Right. I'm going to be one of those two things. So it's going to be interesting to see how
but I also like the process.
Yeah, I love the process.
Also, I mean, all that stuff, the interviews, I think the wonder look test they can probably do without. I mean, if you can't score high on that, then I don't know what you've been doing at 4 years of schooling. But I think just because part of the NFL is not just your ability, but it's again your ability to be public. How do you carry yourself in interviews? How do you carry yourself in stressful situations? When they be asking all these questions about your personal life. I mean, just very graphic stuff, just to see how you're going to respond to stuff. I think a lot of these guys are looking for fit as far as personality. Do you fit our culture as much as what your physical ability is on the field? So I think that process can be very stressful in that regard for these guys. But I think it's good because again, the guys who are going to be the outliers, the guys who are going to be in the top 5 in terms of the drafts, usually a lot of those guys these days don't even go to the combine. They have their pro days and they have their private meetings and whatnot. But for the bell curve of players, which is you're still talking about the elite of the elites, but for I'd say about 70% of those guys, I think what you do there, I think does make a difference in terms of at least how you're perceived, in terms of fan interest, in terms of if you're a QB and you slinging that ball 70 yards downfield or whatever, and those folks in the crowd be oohing and on, at least it gets the local guys talking about, hey, what about that guy? It's like what's going on with him. So I think that for all that's there, and then obviously moves are also made during the combine as well. So don't be surprised. I know all the news coming out of Chicago about Justin Fields unsubscribing to the Chicago Bears page.
Yep.
So
I don't know the Falcons.
So I don't know if he's staying or going. If they got something coming up, but anything can happen over the next couple of weeks. And I think that this is again a very exciting time. I know he's also being considered for the Steelers also. So, it's or they may just decide, you know what, we just got to, give him some talent. Do you want to take Marvin Harrison Jr., just take him in the first round with your pick or trade out and just surround him and see what he can really do. But Chicago, they've been so inept for so long, so give him some skilled players and give him a tackle that, and see if he can really be that guy for you. So, a lot of decisions need to be made over the next few days.
I hope Justin Fields gets his due wherever he go. It doesn't matter to me as long as he's in the league. The combine, to me, outside of the top 20 players, is really for the second rounders.
Right.
Guys that can, they have the skills, but you're pretty much looking at a lot of the linemen, the second-tier quarterbacks, the receivers. Receivers, to me, I think it's always good for receivers to showcase their talent because receivers, they are the gems of most teams.
Mm-hmm.
Each team pretty much will take a receiver every year coming out of college. So I think it's always good. And as long as you get those, no matter what team pick you, I don't care if it was the Texans or Carolina, you in the league, embrace it, work hard, do the things you got you there. If you need to cut a few things out, cut it out. Don't go in there being reckless. Grow up as a man. Save your money. This is a new time. It ain't the old days. But I do have a question for y'all. And this question was brought up a little earlier with Brother Arpane. Dak Prescott, he's due for a contract. He could make over 50, 60 million a year. Now, do y'all think he deserves that money?
Deserves the money? I don't think he necessarily deserved his last a lot of this, the whole deserving conversation is about, I guess, what the market bears. So for as far as the market. So I guess if that's what the market is playing for a for a starting QB who I would still say he's the top. I would say he's a top 10. Am I out of bounds saying he's still a top 10? Count them off before you. I saw that look on your face. Count them off. Then 10. We got 9 guys. Or 10 guys better than Dak Prescott.
I can say for sure. I can say for sure that he's the top 10, but it's just one of those deals coming off last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those deals. He did finish second in the MVP vote, so it's like you can't say that he's not like top. Which is what you say like and then you before you say the playoffs, it's like hey, it's a regular season award. In the regular season, he played really well. He had a really rough. I want to say he had a rough game, and the defense was even worse. But it's a deal where he is the top 10 guy, and it's like if you have made it in the league and his agent, he structured that contract to where it's like, hey, you can't franchise tag me, and basically when you get to that last year of the deal, if you don't tag him, you may as well trade him. So it's either trade him and let him negotiate a deal with somewhere else. He also has a no trade clause, so it has to be a team that he agrees to. And so he's in position to get it. I felt like the last contract he got, the Cowboys screwed it up because at the time they were saying, hey, what if you paying him $30 million? That would have been a discount. Then he came out, he plays well, he takes the next step. Then you franchise tag him, and then he plays well, and you have to tag him again and pay him, a lot more, or they got the deal that he got, which is a sweetheart deal for him. So that's the Cowboys the bad negotiation tactics again. But I think he deserves to get the new deal because if you've ever been to a game, and I'll stand on this forever, go pay for the parking, see what they pay. Go look at the merchandise that they're selling with his name on it or other players' names and the food and everything and that whole experience. That's why Jerry Jones doesn't want to give up, or any owner. They reluctantly give up those games for London and those other places because they make so much money on home games. They never want to give you an exact figure.
Right.
And so, those guys deserve it as long as they're willing to pay it. He's a guy that the Cowboys can't do anything this offseason without him getting a contract done. So I think it behooved them to do it as fast as possible. And, you see what happens when you roll it out next year. Now, do they need to have, like with every contract, do you want to have an escape plan? That's a separate topic. But if you want to escape them and figure like, hey, in two years we can cut bait. But what I want to talk to you about, Mr. Ben, is who do you feel like your Steelers should get as a quarterback? Because I've heard Russell Wilson floated out there.
Definitely not Russell Wilson. Definitely not Russell Wilson. Really, the wild card is Mason Rudolph. So I think there's really three moves they can make here. All right. If they want to go all in, which is not typical for the Steelers, they like to give their QBs at least 3 years. If they want to make a move and give up a second rounder for Justin Fields, which I think is going to be the asking price for Justin Fields, then they can try to make that, and then Chicago draft Caleb Williams. Now, again, a lot of it depends. Does Chicago, again, do they want to just surround him? They got a first round, they got a ninth round. If they surround them with, again, they get Harrison in the first round with that first overall pick, and then they get at 9, they get one of the better tackles, high ranking at that position, and say, look, we're going to go with this and see what happens, then that's off the table. But if it is, and if they go with Fields, and I think they also have to, I know they're saying Pickett's going to be number 1 going into camp, but I think you have to start him, or he has to come in, with that understanding that he's going to be the that he's going to be the guy. Now, if you decide not to, then the next level would be, do you keep Mason Rudolph? If you keep Mason Rudolph, then I say go out and get Ryan Tannehill, because basically what you're saying is Kenny's going to be your guy. You still want Mason as a backup, but then because of the new GM, you said his familiarity with Tannehill, you're going to get a veteran guy in there, and he could be like that sort of mentor to Kenny Pickett going in. So for me, those are your options. So it's either go for Justin Fields or you go for Ryan Tannehill. But again, if you're going to do that, then or if you get Tannehill anyway, then you're going to have to draft another QB. So I've heard Bo Nix's name, because no one really at the first 2, no one's really going to be ranked that high. So I mean, some of these guys, Bo Nix and the guy from Washington, these guys may go 3rd, 4th round. So they may say draft a QB with the lower pick going forward. But it seems like they're, for some reason, they're still going to give Kenny 1 more year to see if he can flesh this out. And with Arthur Smith's offense, which is going to be heavily run dominant, just like it was, he's going to use the two running backs in the game at the same time. He's not going to be switching them out. They're going to both be in there. They're probably not just going to be more in pass receiving. They're going to have the 2 tight end set. So they're just going to be physically running the football. So less pressure on Kenny Pickett to have to perform. And so that's really, so for me, those are the variables. So they're going to go big, make a splash, and get Fields, because Tomlin, from what I understand, really, really, really likes Justin Fields. Or they stay put. You bring Tannehill in, the vet. You draft the QB 3rd or 4th round, and you just continue from there. So what they're going to do, I have no idea. But knowing how conservative they are, that would be very uncharacteristic of the Steelers to go. The last time they did something similar to that was when they went up and got traded the first rounder for Micah Fitzpatrick back in 2019. And I think for the most part that's paid off. But for QB, I don't know if they're going to be that bold to go after him.
I'll say this with any quarterback. All the quarterbacks Pittsburgh got right now, they journeyman. They're not really starting quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would just go ahead, either get Justin Fields, because to me he has the most upside. And I think he'll bring a different element to Pittsburgh, and I think he'll get the tutelage that he needs from Mike Tomlin, because he motivates players to play their best. Other than that, I'll go get a rookie.
You got to look at who you're playing against. Yeah,
but there's some good quarterbacks. I'll go ahead and get a rookie. When you look, I know with Dak Prescott, I'll just say I'm not a Cowboy fan. He deserves the money, because you think about over the last 8 to 10 years, his record probably is one of the tops in the NFL as far as winning. Now, as far as playoff, I would line him up with Buffalo. Who else has been going to the playoffs? Baltimore.
Yeah, look at the Packers.
I mean, all of those teams, they win, but still, Kansas City is the dominant big boy in that NFL right now. So as far as wins, I would, it's just the curse of Dallas, and I'll say it's just part of what Jerry Jones has done, whatever he's done, because he's the most vocal owner in NFL or NBA history.
And I hate that.
And when you cocky like that, I would think that you've been doing some sneaky stuff, but we ain't gonna talk about that. But as far as Dak, I think he deserves his money to the max. He needs to set that. He doesn't he gets more scrutiny, him and Lamar, than any other quarterback, and those other guys, even Josh Allen, he ain't really doing nothing. Dallas is always, if you think about Dallas, since the last 10 years, since Dak's been starting, they've always been one of the top teams in the NFC. Every year they win in 10, 11, 12 games. That says a lot. He's winning. Playoffs is different, of course. We know that's a different animal. I think if he stays, they sign him, because if he goes anywhere else, you're talking instant Tom Brady almost with Tampa, because anywhere, if he goes with Sean Payton, who has an offense, he's instant in there. If he goes to Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin, that's instant. You talking about some good spaces that he's going to be leading the team. And so he should get his money, but as far as Chicago needs to settle down with Justin, go and get Marvin Harrison, get him a couple of good linemen, a couple of good defensive backs, draft another running back because they let Montgomery go, get him a good solid eight. Hey, excuse me. Some of these guys that are going to be free agent, like Josh Dobbs and Saquon Barkley, go and get him in Chicago, draft Marvin Harrison Jr., get them 2 tackles, and everybody else's defense. Chicago will be ready then. That's just my opinion.
I think it would help them a lot. But one thing, a guy you mentioned as far as the combine, I think somebody that's gonna have a good combine experience and help himself is gonna be the quarterback from Washington. I do think, and his name just escaped me. I just had it the whole time.
Penix or something.
Michael Penix.
Penix, yeah.
Penix is going to help himself just because he's an older guy. I'm pretty sure he's been media trained. He's going to know how to answer the questions. But the biggest thing is, if he comes out with a clean bill of health, I know some teams that might scare him off. He's 24 years old. This is the quarterback position where you got guys. We're not going to say he's going to play until he's 45, but let's just say you're predicting the guy after the first contract. Okay, you're 30. You still got another 5 years. You give the guy a 6-year deal. You're going to play 5 of those, so you still have time to be like, hey, look, the goal is, that I heard this long ago when I used to watch the draft. Back when it was on ESPN and just all day, I used to just eat it up and watch it all. You want a guy that could be a starter and say, hey, for 10 years, I put this guy on the board. And it's like, okay, now we got to worry about the other 21 positions. And the more of the guys you have that, when you like the Pittsburghs of the world and the Green Bays of the world, and even in the last probably decade or so, the Cowboys of the world, where it's like, oh, they got guys where you can get it. So now you're drafting and you're saying, let me get the best guy I can get. And not just, like every team does bad when you reach for need. And I think Michael Penix would be a guy that if you let him get, I would say teams are going to get at that lower 27 to 32 to kind of jump back in there and be like, okay, we got him. Now we got the 5th-year option on him. And
so you think Penix is still a first rounder?
I think depending on how this process goes. If the process goes well and he hits it out the park, he's answering questions. He's looking good with the throws. The medicals is like, hey, he's got a clean bill of health. Because you got to realize, while he may have the knee surgeries, he's not the same level of athlete and didn't accomplish as much as John Watson. But he's a guy that, if he gets those, if he comes in and he hits the league and it's like, hey, he's had these injuries, he's well past them, clean bill of health. Because there's guys that they get those grades and they're like, at some point, this is going to go bad. Miles Jack was a guy like that. That's why the Cowboys didn't draft him and stupidly drafted Jalen Smith. But he played for a while until he couldn't. I think he's kind of with the team and then not, but I think he made it about 7 or 8 years. And so it was like, he had a career. He's going to get his pension. He was good for the Jacksonville for a while. So I think, and then he's not a linebacker. He's not a running back. He's not a safety. He's a quarterback. And, he's a pocket guy. He can escape, but he's a pocket guy that can move a little bit enough. And he's a guy that, had good speed. We don't know how much he has left, but he's not a guy like Jaden Daniels, who they believe he's going to be flying. So I do, and then my favorite thing is which quarterbacks are going to fly off the board and push the guys that because Mr. Bennett, your team you're always drafting later, and so you want guys to get pushed down, and you get a TJ Watt or something like that. So that's my favorite part of the process, and I haven't done one yet, but do you guys do the mock drafts? I love to do the mock drafts just to kind of see mock first round.
Right. Yeah. I think the Steelers. I think they're going. If they don't go, do something crazy like I said with Justin Fields, I think the first 2 picks they're going to have, I think it's going to be all line because they need a center and they need another tackle to help out with the guy they got last year. So I think again, they're just looking to fortify and just get some hogs in there to beef up the line to support this Arthur Smith running game. So they're not going to go crazy. They may go first round. I know there's a corner out of Iowa that I think they're really high on, who could be like
I think it's like Eugene. I think it's
Dijon. Yeah, so I think he'd be the second. So him and Joey Porter, they can lock up the secondary on that side. So if he's there, I don't think he's going to be there. I think he may be gone by 15. If he's there, they may go there. But if not, they're going to get this guy, this big old lineman, Jackson something. I think that's going to be the guy that they're going to go at center. And then with that second round, they're going to get another tackle and again fortify that line. So that's because they got some guys they're playing now, Mason Cole or whatnot. He's like $6 million is going to cap, and that's just going back to the point we were talking about earlier about the combine. Again, that's really where the work is because again, everyone's cap stressed at some point. So again, you reach in the point where you're going to be having to pay guys who've been there in the organization 4 or 5 years. Or you move away to clear some cap space so you can, get some guys in the drafts. That's really where your work is. If you can get some 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounders who can be, plug-in starters, then you've done your homework, in terms of your draft work. So that's for me, that's also what you're looking for. You're looking for those jewels who can really contribute to your offense from day one. And but a first rounder, it's usually I'd say about 85% of teams are going to put those guys in just to save face because they drafted you so high. But by second year, it could be a totally different story. So, but you'll do more work with a lower round pick. So I think that's really where the work is, and those are the things I kind of look for in the draft to see if you can find those guys.
Yeah, that's the key to it, man, because you got to build those guys. And, I don't love the system where it's like, hey, we're going to get the younger, cheaper guys. And then the veterans are there, the guys that know how. And, because if you're on the fringe as a veteran, that you're good, but you're not good enough for them to pay. Some of those guys like floating out there. But
that's a lot of players because your number one guy, he's going to be tying up the biggest, TJ Watt. He's the highest paid guy on the team. So, or before him, it was Ben. So, so those guys, lock up so much of your cap money, then it is those middle of the run guys who are going to suffer the most because of that. Because again, unless you're like almost irreplaceable, they may try to move on from you, or at least give you some competition and get you thinking that I better play harder. So that's the delicate balance for most of the guys in the league.
And speaking of free agency, basically, like you said, it comes to that point. This is the primer where the deals get made. So if you're not following Ian Rappaport, you're not following, Adam Schefter,
right?
There's a few others that some of the top guys. I mean, Jay Glazer, he's more so with players. He does have a lot of relationships, but those guys are guys to follow because they're there in Indy. The deals are getting made, and that's why the deals. Oh, it's 12:01, or now they may do it in the afternoon, and the deals start coming up in preliminary because this is where the frameworks and the trades and all that information are made. So it's a real interesting time. Like we lose football, but then we get to the combine. The Senior Bowl was there, but the Senior Bowl happens when hopefully your team is either just left the playoffs or like mine, and then you got teams that we're sitting there waiting. For those guys that your team is out in mid-November. You might watch the Senior Bowl or look at it, and so it's a good time because after that week, then you got free agency. Players are gonna get tagged, and you're looking to see who's gonna. And my biggest thing is who's going to get tagged and versus if you got multiple players that are tag worthy, if one doesn't get a deal, one gets tagged. And then it's like the other guys like, well, the closer it gets to free agency, they're like, hey, I might as well test the market. And that's how you get a couple of extra million. So that's always important to notice.
It ain't as giving. The NFL's not as giving as it was 5 years ago. It's not the same. The money's not the same. You see how they're letting, and this is where you're going to see the fake shift in football. They're not valuing the running back. These pompous people who have the money, they're just really into the passing game. They're not valuing all of these running backs. And I say, you know, I don't know what the cutoff should be, but a running back should, compared to quarterback, let's just say a running back should get half or maybe a little bit over, less than half of what the quarterbacks make. The running backs take a pounding, they take a beating. And a lot of these guys, like, they can run and catch. Like, see, here's the problem with me. They had no problem in giving Christian McCaffrey that money. Saquon Barkley, outside of injury, he's the same thing. Ezekiel Elliott was McCaffrey before that. And they didn't want to give him anything and cried, and they let him go. And now he could basically be out of the league. Derrick Henry. Now, I don't care what nobody say. He'll run over every dude to be talking football out here. And they won't even pay him at this point. If Tennessee let him go, Tennessee ain't going to win 5 games for the rest of the 10 years. Wherever he goes.
The thing is, Derrick Henry is the one that I'll say, because basically it's a copycat. All leagues are copycat. They want to duplicate what other teams are doing. If you look at Derrick Henry, he played the whole life of his extension. You don't see, like, Zeke, his extension didn't run out. He got into those years to where he was able to be cut because he didn't have guaranteed money. Derrick Henry's the only one that's made it to the life of the deal. And you can say, for value-wise, he produced more for his value or produced near the same as his value. And now he's getting up in age.
No, they're still talking about that, letting him go.
Yeah, I was saying he's a free agent. He's a free agent. My thing is, he's a free agent, and they are a team that's rebuilding. They got the Tajay Spears running back. That he's a young guy that you can see them handing over the reins to him. And so you want to hand over the reins to him. Maybe they draft a younger guy. My only thing about the running back, and that's my biggest problem with it, is you're seeing the big deals that players got. No, I'm talking about as far as paying it. When they pay him, I want them to get paid. But his thing is, do you want the team that you root for to pay a running back, and then you see how it falls out, where it's just like, because it's once a player gets paid, like we just talked about the middle guys, you're gonna let some guys go. And so, do you pay that running back? Do you pay him the super big deal, and then who are you letting go? And that's where it gets tricky. And I think they have to find a way to be smarter with the funds. And okay, if you pay a guy, take care of him. Make sure you're still taking care of his body. Make sure you're not giving him some extra carries. There's a way to get it done, but they don't want to. That's the deal.
So that's what I mean. I think they overpay the quarterbacks. Spread their money around. See some good football.
I mean, they do. They do.
We need to see some good, even keel football. And that's the thing. And you saw it. It's like.
Well, we know what's going on, brother.
They were into more trying to pass, and it's more of a passing league instead of a mixed football league.
It's coming up. It's coming back.
Nah, it ain't coming back.
Well, again, certainly the Steelers, that again, they're trying to go to that 2-back set. So again, they're trying to, they're definitely trying to do the ground and pound in Pittsburgh. So, it's
Pittsburgh.
The linebackers against the linebackers. We're getting to the point to where the linebackers are getting to where, like, when you're recruiting a high school linebacker, those guys are like the guys that have the success. When you track it, those are the guys that start off as a recruit at like 212. And then maybe they're getting up to 215, 230 maybe. And you're getting linebackers that you want them to be able to cover. You want them to run sideline to sideline. The days of the 250-pound big old net guys, instead of being linebackers, those guys are now edge rushers.
Yeah.
The edge rushers aren't the 270, 280. Those guys are like Michael Parsons is running off the edge at 250. Yeah. And it's like, so it's changing. And then you get to the point where you say, hey, let me go and run against, look at Von Miller. You see Von Miller, it's like, wow, he's not a really big guy, but he's an edge rusher in the NFL because the game has changed. It's coming around. It's just that what is the ownership group? What is the general manager that's going to say, hey, look, let's outthink the room. Or let's say, hey, let's go with a more balanced attack where we have the running game, we have it based, and then you're paying the running back, you have the offensive line, you have a good enough quarterback, you have a good enough defense. Who's going to come up with that right formula? I don't know if it's going to be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but
Detroit's coming up with it. Detroit is coming up. They got
the 2 good backs.
they run the ball at least 20, 25 times a game.
True. Which is why it's so bad that they got away from the running game in the second half of that game with the 49ers.
Yeah. They got the creative designs of the guys like the Kyle Shanahans and the LaFleurs up in Green Bay, and these coaches now spreading out. Who's going to say, hey, we're going to have this type of running attack? We're going to have the jet sweeps. Or when Philadelphia was good, they had a quality running game. They let their top guy go, and that's what hurts is when you let a guy go like a Miles Sanders, and then you come off and you say, hey, the other guys are doing just good enough. And I think a big problem is we have the athletic quarterback. As you know, Trey Bird, when you go and you have that quarterback that you have to account for in the run game, that makes the defense a little bit, they're worried about him, and it helps the running back some, and he's able to, especially when you're in shotgun. So that helps it to where teams, I think, are saying, hey, look, instead of getting this big, great back, we'll get a guy that's pretty good. We'll get a Lamar Jackson, and he's going to, he'll be able to help the running game that way. But you got the guys like a Gus Edwards that, as a good back, he's looked up, and I thought he was a big player. He's a really, quality back. And it's like, can he get paid and can he produce on the next deal? When you start to see that, I think that's where you say, hey, we're going to pay it. But their franchise tag number was down. And after last offseason, it was just like, that's why Tony Pollard ran to go sign that deal. He ran to sign that free agent tag because it's like, if I don't take it, if I push too long, they can rescind the tag and then I got to play for $5 million. You play for half.
Yeah, but that's the machine of the NFL. They know it. Everything we see is already pre-planned when they push it out there. It's becoming more of a touch pass league for real. It's for the fans. It's not it's for the fans and the owners. That's all it is. It's not for the football player. It's a different dynamic. So you're going to see a mix. It's only a few elite quarterbacks that that can pass and run to that capacity. They're going to always.
I think that's running its course a little bit, guys. I got to tell you, I mean, if you just look at the record over the past this experiment. Over the past, say, 15 years ago, if you want to go back to Michael Vick or whoever you want to go back to, is it so much you want a running QB or do you want a mobile QB? Patrick Mahomes, I don't consider to be a running QB, but he's mobile. So again, everyone keeps talking about, we need that dual threat, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're running because, I mean, you had Richardson from the Colts. He was considered a dual threat guy. He got hurt. Yeah, he got hurt. I mean, we saw what happened with Cam Newton, and when you run these option plays for these QBs and whatnot. I think at the NFL, I don't know if this is necessarily the future of the NFL. I think if anything, everything swings back to center. So you may go back to either to the pure pocket passer or again the guy if you can scramble, especially in the pocket, or if you need to scramble for 10 or 15, if it's open, you take it, or just have that instinct to run. But I don't know if the dual threat, like. You would have thought 10 years ago by now, half the league would have all these dual threats sprinting quarterbacks, and we still haven't seen it. At least the successful ones are still mostly guys who can play in the pocket with the occasional run if need be.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing is that you can only get, I want to say, it might have been an old Parcells thing or some scout. It was like, we can only work with what the colleges give us. Mm-hmm. And they're not giving us the pocket guys. They're giving us the guys that can move. Even the guys that, and I will say maybe the guys that aren't as fleet as foot, they get passed over, and they're developing the quarterback now to be like, look, if you're gonna not be fleet of foot, maybe you need to go pick up the baseball and go over there because you don't have to have the flying foot speed, but you do need to have the arm. Like even he's not per se a mobile quarterback, he's more of a dual threat. Josh Allen is a guy that's consistently over 400 to 500 yards, but they starting to use him less because they've tried to improve the interior of the offensive line, running the ball more. And so because they've seen the playbook, they've seen it. And I used to hate the comparison, but hey man, he's a Cam Newton that's more accurate as a passer, that develops more accurate consistently as a passer. Right. So I think that's something you have to keep in mind of what the teams are giving us. Now we got a Caleb Williams, we got a Drake May coming in. You got guys that are athletic and mobile, but for the most part, I think you hit the hammer on the head, Mr. Bennett. As long as you're mobile, you have to be mobile and get going with that. And that's just what you have to be.
Yeah, or shrug guys off. Because I know Ben Roethlisberger, he was mobile, but his size was something.
His size, it was so.
He could shake you off and still get the ball down the field. So
it's about pocket awareness and being able to read defenses as a successful quarterback.
Right.
In college, it ain't pretty much, because you look at some guys, they weren't necessarily quarterbacks in college. They were the best athlete. One of those guys that could throw the ball 60 yards and read the defense. And he probably played running back in high school, but as he continued to grow and his body grow and his awareness grow, then we need him to play quarterback because he's the only one that seemed to be
throwing out. In high school, you're running all that option in high school.
So. But the NFL is, I think it's definitely correct. I thought I would see more of those Lamar Jackson styles, but when we look at it, it's only one Lamar Jackson that can run a 4.40. Not no 12 quarterbacks is running 4.5s, 4.4. You know what I'm saying? So
well, it's too much of a risk to put them out there. But I think like what you saw this year at the Super Bowl, the Purdy's of the world, the Jared Goffs, like I said, Patrick Mahomes. Again, he'll get it done. He'll go for it if he needs to get it. Even Josh Allen. I mean, he the last game we played him, he beat us with especially that long touchdown run because we couldn't tackle him for some reason. But I think that's the thing. I mean, at least you keep them honest. But if you're going to be having like design plays for the QB to run with, especially with the money that these guys are getting, especially with the money, you're talking about $50 million.
And that's when you run them on the rookie deal. When you run them on the rookie deal, the moment you sign the extension, except for, and even to Lamar Jackson, his previous method of how his number of carries, you saw his yardage and carries go down because it's like, hey, and coincidence, we're paying you now. Oh, we're gonna get you a receiver here, or get you a receiver there, and that's the name of the game. You got to protect your investment. You got to follow the money. You have to follow it. So you're not gonna keep running a guy when you're not when you're paying him excess with 35-40 million. So that's a big deal. But I know we talked a lot about the NFL Combine, and we got a lot going where we can get into free agency in the coming weeks. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we get to
we can certainly move on to the title.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, are we going to touch on the NBA?
Oh yeah,
that's what we're going to. We want to. I know we're going to talk about the All-Star game, but just to kind of reset everything for everybody that doesn't know, like, man, we are majority of the way done with the NBA season. We got a lot left. I'll just name the top four each conference before I get into the debacle All-Star game. At the top of the West, it's the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're number one. Oklahoma City is number two. The Clippers are number three, and the defending champion Nuggets are four. The other top, I'll give the top eight. The five is Phoenix Suns. The Oklahoma, not Oklahoma City. I mean, the New Orleans Pelicans are six. Mavericks are seventh, and the Sacramento Kings are eight. And out in the East, Boston is number one by a large margin. They got a 6-game lead. Cleveland's two. Milwaukee's three. The New York Knicks are fourth. 76ers are fifth. Sixth is the Indiana Pacers. Miami Heat are seventh. And the Orlando Magic, with all that young talent, is eighth. And so we're going down there where everybody's got rested. The season restarts tomorrow. But the debacle that everybody's talking about is just the All-Star game and how, Mr. Ben and Trey Ferg, I know y'all remember more competitive All-Star games.
Indeed.
And things being a lot different.
Right.
Myself, I'm not gonna lie, I want it to be better, but I just don't. I know it's important to make it to be a comparable product because people are gonna watch it, so as a TV product. But myself, my anniversary's around that time. I kind of reset and be like, hey, I watch enough sports. I take a little break, but because the All-Star game isn't giving me a product that I just have to watch. Like I might peek in, I get the NBA app updates, but I think the only way you can fix it to get it more competitive is make guys want the juice. And I don't know if you do it every 4 years, every 2 years. NBA versus the world, USA versus the world. The USA versus the world, because there's a lot of, if you look at the top 10 players, the top of the top are all foreign-born international players. And then once you get maybe 5 through 10, or maybe even 5 through 15, you get into like the American-born players, where the American-born players aren't just the cream of the crop anymore. The KDs, the Stephs, Steph's still up there. LeBron's kind of close up there. But the rest of it, other than that, it's all Giannis, Jokic, Luka. And to put them all on a team, especially Luka and Jokic, and where they have that good chemistry, their games aren't all-star game fits, but if you put them all on the team, I think that would be interesting. And that would make the American more players gotta be like, they're not about to win this over me. Same way with the foreign born guys, they was like, hey, we're gonna get it. Where you got a Embiid, a Giannis, just the all NBA team guys. I think that's how you fix it. And you do tell them, hey, look, we ain't telling you to go out here and make it the bad boy Pistons, but play a little bit more D. I think that's how you fix it.
Interesting. So as far as your world concept, so you're talking almost like a world championships, like every 2 or 4 years with the, because I mean you have the amateur or quote unquote amateur. You have the world championships. You have the Olympics every 4 years, and whatnot. So if the NBA got more involved in staffing, especially on the world championship level with professional talent, to have these teams, so it's not just college amateurs or whatever that's playing, that could possibly work. But again, in that situation, you're more talking about like a round robin or elimination tournament over a course of time, and I don't know if you can certainly kill that over the weekend, and certainly not in the middle of the season either. So I still think as far as the break, yeah, you might want to give them a week off or the weekend off, but I think you're not going to solve certainly the competitive in with that. And I think just having a world tournament, I think it's just going to take too long because of all the teams that are going to be involved. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I was just simply as far as the guys that, because there's enough of them now, the guys that qualify as all-stars, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that's Canada. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's the point, Luka's the 2. I mean, Giannis is the 4, Embiid's the 5. Actually,
so you're talking about,
that wouldn't work.
The current all-stars.
USA. So you're talking about team like the USA All-Stars. So again, whoever got picked for the All-Star team, great.
It wouldn't work.
On one team is going to be the international players that comprise that All-Star team.
Yeah,
playing against the Team USA players.
That wouldn't work.
That's not terrible.
That could be good just for like a preseason game or like a summer game, but it wouldn't work as far as the NBA All-Star game, because now you have to invite players who are not All-Stars to fill the roster.
Well, now that's what he's saying. He's saying that there's
but you don't have 12 top tier foreign players.
That's why I had to take a look at the All-Star. That's the only place where we get into a problem, where you're gonna have to, the guys that make it, how they set it up. So let me pull up the All-Star rosters.
It's not enough of those players that would be considered All-Star players,
though. It's at least 8, I would say. Right?
But here's the catch, though.
Getting real close.
Here's the catch. Now, yes, we have Giannis, we have the Joker, Embiid, yes, but it'd be a whole different ball game if they was to do that. Guys would play 110%. Because they ain't going to be taking too many L's, I can tell you that. Those guys will play at a different speed. Somebody made, Kendrick Perkins made a comment. If we want a better All-Star game compared to the monster, why not up the ante? The winning team gets $100,000.
Because they're making $30 million. I mean, that's why back then the game.
But if you want that, y'all gotta remember the All-Star game was at a nice competitive rate. It was until they say shut up and play. Once they say shut up and play, if you notice, it's been a little different game out there. Not putting up that type of fight.
I think it's supposed to be the money. Because back in the day, in the 80s,
in the 80s,
you were making $300,000 a year as a player, and that All-Star check was like $25,000. I mean, that was or $50,000, whatever the winner's share was. That's still a significant amount. But when you got players making $20-30 million, $100,000 isn't even a drop in the bucket.
And a shoe deal, and not to mention the shoe deal. And you're right,
deals and all the other stuff that's there. So they get more. Just
them same guys as an All-Star, rotate them, let them know you could be rotated out. I mean, they know they coming back. I mean, listen, if you're in the NBA right now, I can understand how the players like, look, you want me to go out here and bust my tail? Yes. And granted, I think they get overpaid anyway initially. That's the NBA's monster. They overpaid them initially. Y'all shouldn't be making, listen, because we talk about the greatest that ever played, his whatever he made his last year, nobody gets over what Michael Jordan made. He's the greatest. I mean, but you put these players in these positions too early, and now they friends now. They hang out now. They talk about this beforehand. Like, man, we ain't go, hey man, so it is what it is to me. If they want to make it more competitive, just up the ante a little bit, and you'll let them play.
Yeah.
Win a quarter. Play like they do in golf when they do the each hole. You up the ante for each quarter and see how they play then. If you win the first quarter, you get so much. You win the second quarter, these players will play. They'll play.
I don't know. I think it's just too much money there. I mean, they play harder. You talk about the
NBA All-Star game.
You talk about the preseason. They play harder in the preseason than they do any All-Star game, and that's the problem also. Or they'll play harder in a summer league, playing it, or they go to play ball at Rucker Park.
They got a clip of Kobe saying that y'all playing harder at UCLA games. And I think some of it may just simply be when they doing in those pickup games. There's no cameras there. That's just the guys. That's just personal pride, and we need the more personal pride to step in. And you're right. There's not enough, because I know Bam Adebayo. I believe he's American born. He's American born. So no, it's not enough. It's basically on the East. It's Giannis.
There's only 5. I think it was like only 5 players total.
It's Giannis and it's Embiid. There's American born. That's foreign born, and then on the West side, it's Luka, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Jokic. Those are So it's not enough at the high end. So it kind of, what's funny to me is kind of proves the propaganda. People are like, man, these international guys. But then we look at the all defensive team, you look at the all NBA team, they get the top cream of the crop. Like, the first 2 center spots are Embiid, Jokic, and then you might have like a Anthony Davis on the third team. And separately, he's on the first team all defensive the way he's playing. But that's my thing as far as all around game. When they get to discussing it, you see more USA born, and it's like, you get intrigued by the Victor Wembanyama who's coming to come help, but that's just one. There's still for every guy like him, there's a couple of guys underneath him that were drafted that are promising guys. As a former number 1 overall pick, Pablo Banchero, he's an all-star. So it's just like, he's an outstanding young player that's got this team, as we was reading off the standings, in the playoff currently. And then, guys pushing for the play-in. So it's a thing where it comes about heart. It's just, and to be honest, because I know I'm sorry, what can it be fixed? And that's my headline here. How much fixing does it need? I just say, hey, get the guys to compete a little better. Talk to them in the back room. They competed a little bit better when they did the Elam scoring for a couple of years, and they did the draft, and it worked a little bit better. But overall, I want a pretty good regular season where games get competitive and get ratcheted up. Like when Kobe had his ceremony, they had the ceremony for Kobe and the trophy. His statue getting revealed. There was some quality basketball getting played. There was more defense. Normally see the scores in the 120s. It was near, and I don't think it was to the 110s maybe. And it was real competitive. They were playing defense. It was competitive. I want games like that, the marquee games, to be competitive. I want a great postseason. I want a really good postseason and hopefully a great finals matchup. I care more about them getting that done to get to because a lot of the players have been playing more games. I'm glad Kawhi Leonard has been playing more. I appreciate Anthony Davis playing more games and even only had a few, nicks here and there. And I appreciate the big guys playing, but I think as we see if we can get the competitive spirit of an Anthony Edwards, a guy that wants to play out 82. That wants to show he's a dog, that wants to be the guy. That's a young player. I think guys need to get on board and see that if you want to know why they're number 1 in the West, it's Anthony Edwards. Karl Anthony Towns he's charming. He's charming. And I hate to call guys like that, but he's charming.
How many first year All-Stars was it? It was quite a few this year.
It was a good number. I have to check to see because I think Halliburton was like a first time. I think Shai Gilgeous was a first time All-Star.
It was quite a few. I think it was about 6 or 7. I think.
No, he might have been his second.
Definitely on the reserves. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
but on the reserves for sure.
Yeah.
And then you can see the
Pablo,
shift.
Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, and you can see the shift in the NBA because think about this. Every player that's playing in the All-Star game and a lot of these new guys, most of them wasn't even in the league when LeBron James came in the league. Now LeBron James is not carrying. He's just a support. And it's hard. You know what I'm saying? He's not the carrier of the team in the league. He's just a support. So, guy, I didn't see any guy. I thought I would see some guys like saying, I'm going to be that man. Some of these young guys, like, I'm here. I'm going to show you I'm here. I thought Hillenberg, Hillenbrand? I thought he had a chance early in the first half because he was hot. Then he tapered off. Jason Tatum, he didn't, you know what I'm saying? And Damian Lillard, you know, he just showed that, because remember, he was the one before that kept getting passed over. Mm-hmm. So he's the one been having a chip on his shoulder ever since he got there. Now, I was thinking I would see another guy come and take over, because the West, to me, they were just too damn old. To me, they were just too old. I don't know, man. I don't know.
What you got? You got Steph. You got Steph, KD, LeBron. You got three guys.
12, 15 years in the league. You know, I think Steph has the least. All those, you know, Anthony Davis, you know, he ain't going to give you too much. I thought Anthony Davis would step up and be a little bit. Some of them guys just, you can see that they wasn't aggressive.
Kawhi,
but
you got Kawhi, too. You got Kawhi and Paul George. They're older guys. And then you got while I want to say he's older, Dame is a little older, but all around him, you got Giannis, you got Bam, you got Halliburton, you got Jason Tatum, Pablo Banchero, Scotty Barnes. You know he's an injury replacement. You got Jaylen Brown, and Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, injury replacement. So you got guys, like you're right. The infusion of youth may have been the cause for that, and I think that's one way to get things more competitive. It's time for the old guys to kind of get out of the way. But a part of it is you got to get guys watching and knowing these guys. You got to get them on League Pass. You got to get them, or if you don't always want to surprise the League Pass, if you have NBA TV, they're going to give you a lot of look-ins. You got an app. It's about being engaged and seeing those guys. Like I'm making my job to try to follow the younger guys to see who it is and pick guys that I think are going to be really talented. Like a guy like in Detroit. He's far from an all-star, but he's a guy that's like 20 years old and giving you a double-double machine in Jalen Duren. And you see those guys starting to come, because that's one thing. I know we were just talking about the running backs on the football side. Basketball-wise, hey, we want the center back. Well, these teams are going to draft centers because of that guy down in San Antonio, where it's like, yeah, he may be thin as a rail, but his final position when he, in 2 or 3 years, he's going to be playing the 5, because that's just where he's going to be. So you got to get guys to match that. There's no surprise that the Mavericks, who have needed a center for a while, drafted Derek Lively, a guy that has good wingspan, good height. You got to compete against that. So you're going to get that. Like, I know y'all remember the 2000s when they were just drafting stiffs to beat up Shaq. And I was just like, what was the guy that he played in New York and got the bag? He got a contract with Seattle, and it's like, the guy's a stiff. He had a few good games, and they gave him a contract. And it's just like, you're gonna start seeing, he's tall, he's got long arms, because
you need 6 fouls to give out. So hack attack, you're gonna have 24 fouls to give up in the game. So that was that was definitely it. But I think just overall the All-Star, and for me, I mean, I grew up in the slam dunk contest was, for me, the highlight of the All-Star weekend. It wasn't just that. And again, you're talking about going back to 84 to 88, that was like the golden era when you had Michael Jordan going against Dominique, and that era. I mean, it was just special, man. So I think a lot of people blame LeBron James for not getting into those slam dunk early. I'm talking about early in his career, 2000. Yeah, early in his career, 2005. If he would have participated, then other players would have been motivated to join in the contest. But now, again, you don't have the superstars. The only time it got really revived was a few years ago when you had
Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine.
And those guys weren't even star. I mean, they were like reserves mostly. They were.
What's the name? He's a career good role player. Is Aaron Gordon. Right. So you don't have the stars, and so it's one of those deals to where it's just like, LeBron gets heat for a lot of stuff, but there have been younger guys that have came in the league that have
Right.
star potential that should have
Right.
done it. Like we're just letting a former number 1 overall pick that was one of the biggest things to hit the league, and Zion Williamson. We're letting him just skate by that. Like, yeah, it doesn't matter about how imaginative you are. You being in the dunk contest adds so much
It
juice.
does.
You know,
But
even before he got into the trouble, Ja Morant. Like there's guys that we could have seen in the contest that could have done it, and it's like it's one thing where it's like, hey, we should be more focused on the 3-point contest. That's good. Like, and you're like you just said 84 to 88. So which one of the best dunk contest performances you guys have seen? And I'll compare with one of the best I've seen.
Well, I got levels. Trey, you were gonna make a point first. Make your point, then I'll follow up.
No. You know, man, I don't even know, man. It was. Yeah, I don't even, let's just go to the next one. I don't even know what I was going to say, man.
Okay, all right. So for me, there's levels to this. All right. The greatest contest I ever seen might have been Gordon and Levine contest in terms of just who's going to top this, the creativity, the guy coming out on the mobile thing, spinning around. I mean, just ridiculous dunk. So I mean, that might have been the most, the most athletic one I've ever seen. The most anticipated one was 88 Dominique and Jordan, which I think Dominique
where do you get that one? Okay, so you
won.
Okay.
They gave Jordan that home cooking, you know what I mean? Dominique, I thought, won that but that was the one because up to that point you had Jordan in the contest or Dominique in the contest. Jordan was hurt or Dominique was hurt. So you didn't have them go head to head until 88. And well, actually they did go ahead at like I think 84. I think they went at it too, but they weren't like the stars yet. But by 88, clearly Jordan was becoming one of the face of the league, and Dominique was certainly known the human highlight film. These so yeah, that was like Ali Frazier going at it in terms of so that might have been like the most important dunk contest. But then the one that was just enjoyable overall, I gotta look at. You talk about Jordan 86, where he goes on the side and he's a little like vertical, horizontal and dunking it in. But the 86 was Spud Webb. I mean, that was 5'6", and he's going up against Dominique. He beats his own teammate Dominique, but I don't know if his dunks were better. But again, for a guy 5'6" and as skinny,
you're gonna get that. You're gonna get that reaction.
Everybody was going nuts to every dunk because it was like what are we watching here? Because that never happened before, and so so that one was just like I can watch that kind of any time. So those are like my top. Those are like my top four. So you got 88. So you got the 86 for Spud Webb. You had 87 Jordan, 88 Jordan Dominique. And then you had Zach Levine and Gordon. Was that 2017, 2018 or something?
Yeah.
Like that? That's Brother basically Bennett, it.
Brother Bennett, you missing out probably one of the greatest dunkers in NBA history. He ain't nowhere in your list. Vince Carter.
That's my biggest one. I was going to say that's my biggest one because I'm younger. No doubt. I'm 30. I'm 36.
Yeah.
So seeing it, that's the one that stood out to me. Just because I was like amazed.
I mean, who did Vince? Vince kind of owned the contest from jump. Like you knew that he was, that he was going with. Dante mentioned contest, like head to head. Then the only reason I put Spud in there is because again, Spud,
you're right,
was like you just couldn't that in your mind. You just couldn't imagine Vince. We already saw Vince dunking over the Euro play in the
Euro play. Yeah.
So he was already So I mean, his he was phenomenal, but it was him against everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But head to head, nobody was going to challenge Vince in terms of who won. Who's going to win that contest. But the other ones,
that's where it got tough. That's where it got tough. Where it's like I remember that one, and just from that one, a lot of those in my younger years, the ultimate litmus test was I'm young, I'm easy to impress. Did you impress my pops? And like the Vince one was like, I was like, yes, finally, like something in my generation was like. Hey, that guy's like that's next level. That's elite, and so that kind of stuff impressed me. But the other ones, it was always guys that were good, but I grew up in the era where it wasn't the top main guys and competing in it and winning it. it was more so guys that were just really good dunkers. Like I
Reserve,
think
yeah.
one back to back, Jason Richardson, who was like a fringe All-Star type of guy, like a All-Star reserve, but like to see the All-Star starters guys, Vince was the last one I could remember. So that one always stuck out. And then the other ones was like it was a lot of lulls in there. And then you got the setup ones, like he said things about Contrive. The first one I thought about, he was an amazing athlete, but when Blake Griffin won, it was so contrived. He jumped over the kid. That's the car of the NBA, and it's kind of like getting at points like that. It's like we let the money and the kind of that kind of stuff kind of get in the way a little bit.
Right.
Even though he was a great dunker, he had great in-game dunks. But
the NBA dunk contest is all about the creativity anyway.
Creativity. And I forgot one as a dunk contest that was an all-star starter type guy. Dwight Howard was one. He was one, but it's always hard for the big man because you're so big, so people aren't as impressed.
It's hard to have.
But
now again, unless you're gonna rip it down. if you go back to remember Darryl Dawkins back in the day, Trey Berg. You can even put Shaq in the dunk contest if he knows he's gonna rip it down. If he rips it down, that's gonna get a reaction out the crowd. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a win.
Yeah. So that would be again. Maybe you need to have categories: the power dunkers, the style, the 360 guys, the guys who are going to be jumping over people. But the fact now that it's been reduced to where you got basically Billy Ho from White Man Can't Jump. You got this dude off the street, basically
off the G League. No disrespect to the G League, but he's developing.
He's your 2-time winner of the contest. I mean,
they knew he had those dunks in it. He's been practicing. He has some of the best creativity. I gotta give.
But if you're gonna do that now, if you're gonna do that, then someone made it. I think even Stephen A. made a recommendation. Just go to Rucker, go to across every player sponsor a dunker because you got mean dudes all over the country on these courts. So an NBA All-Star. I sponsored. This is my guy. I'm backing my guy.
I know
and
guys.
You bring him in and let him do it. Even from them guys from the N1 mix, Spider and all them dudes. I'm saying get like a roster of 10 dudes from all across the street, the best street ball dunkers in the country, and let those guys go at it or something like that. But outside of that, I can't see how you can save the dunk contest. I would rather at this point they retire it. Or unless they go that route.
We need that dunk contest, brother. We need the dunk contest. We need the dunk contest.
Well, but again, if the stars aren't going to do it, I'm saying you go out to the streets of America and you get these guys, and the winner gets 100,000 or something like that. You put up your own money. You know what I mean? 100,000 to the winner, and you bring these guys in from all over the country and let they'll be there. You'll be helping on multiple fronts. You'll be helping their families and everything else that goes on.
You will, but what we got to really look at it. I'm looking at the list of foremost, and before I get to that, just want to shout some of the people out in the chat that's for checking us out. Andre Terry, what's going on, brother? KP,
always
what's going on? As always, man. I appreciate it. Yes, real good. We appreciate it. Let's go. Hank, what's going on, brother? I appreciate everybody say, Lady Nova, what's going on? I appreciate y'all checking us out. But I'm looking back at the past ones, and that's why I don't remember the stars winning it. The last, one of those stars, let me see. You said Dominique Wilkins, 85, Spud Webb, 86, Jordan, 2-time, 87, 88, Kenny Walker, 89, Dominique Wilkins in 90, and then you got D Brown who did the famous dunk, who won it.
Starter but not a star, but
starter but not a star. Then that's where you get the error. You get Cedric Sabalas, who, if you want to know why I'm not a Mavericks fan, I had his plaque from the Mavericks. That was the best player they had available. So, yes, I'm going to root for another team. Everybody always wondered. You got Harold Miner, who was hyped up. I know Isaiah Ryder did Harold Miner. Wins again. Then you get Brent Berry, and I love my dog, RP. But the Kobe Bryant dunk contest, that was a weak one, and he wins it as a star. And I was happy that he won it. But that wasn't a strong one. Then 98, I guess you had the WNBA 2-ball competition. Lockout 99, so short season. So you did get one, no All-Star game. Then in 2000, to bring it back, you get Vince, but then you get Desmond Mason, Jason Richardson, you get Fred Jones, Josh Smith, Nate Robinson, somebody that's an amazing dunker that fits to what you said, not the best basketball player, but Gerald Green is a Gerald Green when they competitive. They showed the one the other day where he went and he blew out the candle, then he blew out the cupcake, and then he dunked it.
Yeah.
He's a guy that creativity, athleticism. So you got Gerald Green, Dwight Howard, Nate Robinson, Blake Griffin, Jeremy Evans. You know what I'm saying? You know, and we even got guys on here that I didn't remember winning it. Donovan Mitchell won in 2018 before he was a star. So you can put that on his list of accolades, but it's just kind of like the stars are out of it. But if you look at it, because of the work that Wilkins, Spudwell, Jordan, the work they put in the 80s, the contracts and the money got bigger. So even as far as the 90s, you don't have stars competing in it. And then it's more taxing to do the dunks. But the three-point contest, Steph can come out there and do it and smoke some boots. You can see Klay Thompson. You can see a Dame. You can see all these guys coming out and doing it. It's not as taxing. I'll equate it to the home run competition, where it's like you're putting in, and they're putting in more work because let's see if you can hit 40 home runs. It's just be deep. So I think that's something that has to go to it along with the money. When you see the money escalate and jump up, and as you see the 98, 99 in there where they have to lock out, the money was going up. And so it's like you don't get the big guys behind it. It's like even those you see, first of all, you know the money wasn't all the way there. What the hell is Dominique Wilkins doing competing and winning at 90? Like you've been a star for a long time. Like, but it's a different level. Like Jordan 87, 88.
He never got to a finals. I think he might have got to an Eastern Conference Finals, something like that. So again, I think part of it, and that the calculus might have been just staying relevant. When because then you had the bad boy Pistons and whatnot. They were like maybe like a lower playoff team at that point, so that probably kept him relevant, just being in that mix. But even now, I think for a lot of those guys, I just don't think the incentive is going to be there for them to do it.
I wouldn't do it either. I wouldn't do it either. Think about it. You already said they get too much money. And why not allow?
And it's dangerous. I mean, look, some of those. Fortunately, we haven't had. I can't recall someone actually getting hurt. But I don't know when I wasn't a great dunker. I can put it in, but I wasn't like 360 and whatnot. But you can hurt a finger. You hit that rim. You grab it any kind of way. Your fingers, you could dislocate a finger, especially going in with the power like.
Yeah, you definitely can, because I know my younger brother. He started really dunking. He was really going hard on it. He's like, man, I'm getting my hand messed up. And I was like, I was like, yeah, you gotta learn how to do it without hurting yourself, and because that rim is hard, and you gotta it's all about you gotta do all those things. You gotta go and practice. You gotta go and practice the dunks, and it's gotta be secret. And you already. And then nowadays you got guys All-Star Weekend. You're selling products. Your shoe releases. Your shoe is rolling out. You got your shoe sponsored event because they're cutting the check like early. Before you get to that contract extension, they're paying the bulk of the deal. Like Zion, Jordan is paying you X amount of dollars, so you got to go do this Jordan shoot. You got to do all these things, and it's kind of like I still say back to like what Kobe was saying. Hey, make time for it. The main thing is the main thing.
But even still, and we've talked about this recently. Just talking about we saw in the Super Bowl where the guy tore his Achilles. Just going in the game. I mean, these guys are, so sensitive today. I think playing too much, not necessarily getting the rest. You playing all year round. Yeah. Again, dunking, an explosive movement. I mean, you could anytime you can get injured, and I don't think these guys necessarily want to risk that either. I mean, for a dunk contest, you can pull a hammy or do something.
But fellas, these guys dunk at the recreational gym too. So it's just,
the guys at the recreational gym are playing in between their jobs, in between stuff.
I'm talking about NBA guys when they trying to get to that level. They practicing and they'll dunk.
They're not jumping over people.
No, they're not jumping over objects. But like you said, just the dunk within itself is injury.
But that's what I'm saying. For a dunk contest, you want to have that extra element to it. That's what I'm saying.
That's for the creativity. I think it's if it comes down to this, now they can do how they want. Of course, they're not listening to us. But if you're a rookie, and you're top one of the top rookies. Okay, part of that is you get in the dunk contest. Show it. You ain't gonna be showing us all these high flying dunks in the game where everybody, a certain group can see you. You're gonna be in the dunk contest. Within your first 3 years.
Within the first, I was gonna say the first 3, because even as good as Victor was, they wasn't gonna vote him All-Star. You basically seen, I'll be honest with it, since LeBron didn't make it his rookie year, when he was, he was like 25-5. Once the point that he didn't make it, unless you were putting up Jordan numbers your rookie year, and or anyone like that, you're not making the All-Star game rookie season. You're just not making it.
Nobody put up Jordan numbers. When LeBron came in, the league was already filled with other stars. So even though he's averaging 20, you still got to wait. But then you see how immediately it shifted.
Year two is like when it's like, hey, you got to make that jump.
Yeah. Right now, but I think the aspect, if they bring in guys, I think you'd be doing so much. Plus, if you can get them all from the same city, I don't know. I don't know Salt Lake. I don't know if there's a lot of dunkers out there, but
that'd be interesting.
I'm just saying, but the city that the All-Star game is in, you can scout that city and be like, okay, who are the best dunkers? So it's like you're giving back to the community. You put $100,000 up for first place, $50,000 for second, or whatever. You get these guys who are basically just playing just for the patch in the game or whatever, or just looking trying to get a city pro or something like that, and you can change their life with that kind of coin and recognition. Help them out with their Instagram, whatever is that they're doing. So if they wanted to really give back, so again, next time the All-Star game is in New York City, that's a gold mine right there. You can go to Rucker and probably get all those guys just from the Rucker game in and of itself, let alone from the other courts around the
neighborhood.
That's what I'm saying. That I think that would be a great community service thing where you can really help these guys in so many ways. So if they want to go that direction, I would definitely support that.
That'd be interesting. Have those guys within those cities have a competition, which would bring a little light.
Put some money in their pocket. Absolutely.
Top 5, top 10.
It's definitely something to look forward to and to look into. And I know the NBA, they're big on changing stuff, but as you guys can see on the screen, it's going our final thoughts. And Andre, I feel you, man. They are world-class athletes. The injury side isn't as big as a risk, but I think it's more so of the social media and the embarrassment. You miss a dunk in the All-Star game. This isn't 87, where it's just like, hey, you missed the dunk and then you made the one you made. It's something, and that's something where it's just like, do you want to go through that and you're already getting $20 million from the shoe deal with it? Even for the guys, we're saying in the first 3 years they had a rookie deal. Or it's that does the lack of hunger, and the hunger that's there when the playoffs is not the hunger that's going to be there during the All-Star game. Nor are you expecting it to. It's just something they can kind of figure out. So as far as any final thoughts, fellas, Mr. Bennett, Trey, y'all want to roll?
Well, like I said, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to, again, the combine starts next week. So again, I'll be fully engaged in that. Keeping an eye on what my local Steelers are going to do, and what this draft is going to be coming up. But just a quick note as far as my closeout, boxing. I think the real major boxing season is going to be getting started in the springtime. So in March, you're going to have a few matches to keep in mind. So you got Ngannou fighting Anthony Joshua on March 8th. So certainly Ngannou surprised a lot of people against Fury. So look forward to that. Another good one on. You got March 30th, Tim Tszyu fighting Keith Thurman in Australia. That should be good. And then on April 20th, Ryan Garcia is fighting Devin Haney. So that could be setting up some elimination stuff. And then you got Tank, you got all those guys around that 135, 140. So you could be possibly setting up some potential matchups during the year. So definitely, as we get closer to the spring, I'm definitely going to be looking forward to having some segments where I talk about the boxing and give my thoughts on some of the cards and the outcomes of some of those matches and whatnot. I know Trey Ferg, I know you're into the boxing as well, so we can have a go at it as well. But definitely looking forward to the to the spring. And as always, it's a pleasure to be with you guys tonight.
All right, man. I appreciate that. And I would say when we get to those fights, let me know. I want to say rank the ones, or you say, hey, you should definitely go check this one out.
Will do.
Sports bar or a
Yep.
fight, let me know. Because my thing is, as far as watching it, the more you watch it, the more you get into it, you get connected. And so when
Right.
it goes to times where it's like you see, like I remember watching a Devin Haney fight. I want to say I want to say on the ESPN fight. I think he was fighting
Mhm.
Australia, and I was like, yeah, look to my untrained eye, it looked pretty impressive. So it's
Yeah.
like the more I see it, the more you kind of get into, you keep up with them, and it's cool. So any thoughts from you, Trey, before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to the transition from the fall sports to the spring sports. So I'm looking forward to baseball to start kicking out. That means it's starting to get a little warm, and I'm gonna get it step away from the professional ranks for a bit.
World
If
champs,
you
baby.
have,
So who's
if you have a
who's your
son,
baseball team? Who's your baseball team?
baseball team, I don't really have a particular baseball team that I like, but I do like the Yankees just because of all the action that they do throughout the season. They pretty much put it on the line every year.
Right.
You can. So I like the Yankees. I've always liked them since I got into baseball. I used to play as a kid, and that was one of my favorite teams. But I'm just looking forward to the new, I guess the new breed, or not necessarily breed, but that new stock of players coming out and players breaking out. And, and I'll say this, if you're a parent and you want to put your kid into sports and you want to, be in a position where he ain't getting hit, because I know some of y'all scared of football and he ain't the most slew of foot, but if you can teach him how to swing a baseball bat, it is a technique, teach him how to some hand-eye coordination, catch a ball. Why not let him play baseball? Baseball is a worldwide sport. Baseball will take him around the world, and with minimal injury, there are thousands of scholarships given out for young players, but young black boys don't play it. There's only 400 some basketball players, and I think like 1,600 football players. But baseball, it's a worldwide sport. The AAA, the AA, these guys making over $150,000, $200,000 just playing in that. Then you can go overseas, like the overseas players coming here and they pay you top dollar. So I just say look into it. It seems boring, but once you at the game, it's a little more exciting, especially as a parent, to see your son throw a strike, see your son get a home run or make that key catch. So it's a really interesting game, and it'll run all the ADHD out your child, folks. So get your children out there, let them play sports. It's almost summertime, springtime. Teach them how to fly a frisbee, something. You go fishing, get out of the house with your kids, air your house out, something, man. This is a great time of the year. Shout out to all my Aquarius. Shout out to Black History Month. Shout out to Rutgers, Brother Bennett, Dante, Shawnee.
Yeah, man.
You.
And I want to say, speaking of, I'll close out. Speaking of Black History Month, it's something that in young black men in baseball, they had Catches Jack. Travis Scott hosts an event in Houston where they have the HBCUs playing baseball. My alma mater, Prairie A&M, they actually won it, and so they won the games in it, and so that's something impressive. And something else I'm trying to make sure I can go to. All-Star game is here at Arlington. They having another HBCU showcase. I think I'm going to check that one out just to get in the stadium, see the guys, be able to get that experience. And it all starts with at home. I feel like every male child, if you want to get them in sports, the American game of baseball is a great way to introduce them. Hand-eye.
Is
You can
that game televised?
I don't know if that game is televised. I'm going to look into that to see.
Hit me up. You got my IG, right?
IG, put it in chat, and I'll get it.
Yeah, hit me up with that. If it's televised, I would love to check that out and spread the word on it.
Yeah, because I follow a guy that's really good. He called the Black page is the Black Baseball Mixtape. I follow him a lot, and he talks about a lot of things. He has interviews. They had a really great interview with some of the guys with the 50 years of hip hop, and they were talking about how hip hop was in the locker room when some of the guys were coming in. Some of the guys were older as it starts to transition to the younger guys, and it's just interesting to hear that take on it. And in fact, we were talking about guys, in the internet, the different flair. The number one player ranked on MLB.com and MLB TV was Ronald Acuna Jr. That was the number one ranked player. The number two ranked player was Mookie Betts. And so it's just like you see like a change in the guard. Number three, your guy Aaron Judge. So those are the top three guys. So it's like there is a different flavor coming into it in a flair, but it's just one thing you got to get the guys interested.
That's
You
right.
gotta get the guys interested. And I know my son, he's young, but I'm gonna have him start off in T-ball. I watch base. I'm watching it more now that I've gotten older, where it's just like, hey, it's a long season, so you can kind of stop down. And then now I'm following like the minor leagues and everything like that. So it's just something really great to follow. It's like you said, it's great to see it. It's exciting to go. Now he was really young. I already took him to a game already. On a Sunday it's my day with him. So I was like, hey, we'll go catch a baseball game for a cheap. And it's the thing where there's 81 of games if you're near a home market. Some of these games are going to be cheap. They want to sell it out on a Sunday. They have all type of promotions. So it's something to get into, get your kids into. It's like athletically. Tim Anderson is a guy that's like, hey, he played basketball, but he wasn't tall enough. He's like, I'm like 6'1". With his athleticism, he's playing shortstop. So there's
some of your greatest football players all played baseball.
Most
Patrick
definitely.
Mahomes, Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson, all played baseball. So, hey, it will help you with your hand-eye coordination and your ability to read things fast. Because that
I was just
baseball
watching had Club Shay Shay. He had interviewed Johnny Manziel, and I didn't know until 14, 15 years old, he thought his life was baseball. He was shortstop. His favorite player was Derek Jeter. He wore number 2. But that was base and foundation for him as well. So
that foundation is something to get into. So I mean, that's all I got. I know we run a little late here, guys, and I appreciate y'all, everybody checking this out. Johnny, we're looking forward to you being back next week. If you guys are watching, so everybody in the chat, we do appreciate y'all. We have another week, and going into next week, we'll check back in on the NBA and just kind of look at some more different sports, and definitely look into the combine because the NFL is constantly going. We're going to check in that and see what's going on. So until next week, guys, we are out, man. Peace.
Take care. Have a great week.
Subscribe now.